Could you offer some words of advice to maybe a younger guitar player who's looking to get into country blues, acoustic blues?
Well, you know that guy, what was his name? He was into mythology.
Joseph Campbell?
Joseph Campbell, yeah. He used to always say, "Follow your bliss." Well, I think that holds real strongly for music. You know,
Mm-hmm.
If it turns you on, just go with it. You know, and don't worry about whether you're playing something that's been played before or not, because first of all, even if you try to play something identical to the way somebody's playing it on one of the old 78s, the likelihood is that you're not going to be able to anyway. And if you try to do it, you might come up with something that sounds good and will be pleasing to the ear. And you might accidentally start something that's never been done before.
Yeah.
I think too many people are worried about originality. And I think when it comes to songwriting, you shouldn't claim something that as yours that isn't. I mean, people do that, but I think that's wrong, and I think it's crooked
Mm-hmm.
and dishonest, and you have to. And blues is the kind of music that requires honesty, and so I'd say just be honest and play what you love to hear. Play what you can play, and just try to communicate with the audience, and not try to play too many notes, because you can play so many notes that you lose the thread of what the song is trying to say. I mean, that's about all I can think of.
Yeah, that's great. And before we go check out Ed, could you just share? You told me a great story about Howlin' Wolf and Hubert Sumlin coming over to your house after a gig. Could you just share that
Yeah.
with us again?
Yeah, well, I had been haunting this club in Cambridge where Howlin' Wolf and his band were playing for a whole week, and I guess it was the last night they were there. I think it was. No, it was. I think it was a Thursday or a Friday night during the course of the week they were there. I was talking to Howlin' Wolf, and I was only about 22 years old, I guess, and I said, I was living in what should have been a condemned building up around Central Square in Cambridge, and I had been sharing this place with a friend of a friend who was in the Coast Guard, I think, or the Navy, and he just needed a place to come back to when he wasn't out doing what he had to do, fulfilling his obligation to defend America on the high seas. So I had this place to myself. And, being economically lean times, the refrigerator was never full and there was never very much to drink. But I went and invited Wolf and his band over to my place. I gave him the address and said, "Come on over after the gig if you feel like, we'll have a party." And so some people that I knew who were around came over, and they brought a little bit of booze, fortunately, a little bit of beer, and I had a part of a bottle of whiskey. But I sort of thinking, gee, I don't have anything to give these guys, anything to offer them, no food, very little booze, and they're probably expecting it's going to be a big deal, So it got to be midnight and nobody showed up. 12:30, 1 o'clock. I figured, oh God, I was glad there was nobody there, because I would have been embarrassed, if they'd shown up. And just when I thought they weren't going to show up, in walks Howlin' Wolf and the band, And, you know, we're sitting, I didn't even have any furniture. I mean, people are sitting on the floor. And I had a bed that somebody loaned me, a cast iron bed with a mattress like a rock. And I had my guitar under the bed. And I think the guitar was in its case but sitting on the floor. And Wolf wanted to check out the guitar, so I handed it to him. And he's sitting on the bed with my guitar and telling me about this guy that he learned to play from named Charlie Patton. And I was not familiar with Charlie Patton. This is 1966, 67. And so he shows me this lick that he's playing. He said, this is something I learned from a guy named Charlie Patton. He said, you look kind of like a Puerto Rican. He used to wear his hat on the side of his head and grab the guitar and slap it like that. He was doing some of those things that Patton used to do, you know. And what I noticed, he was playing an E major chord with two fingers, putting his middle finger between the A and the D, and his index finger on the G string. And that left these two strings open to play an interval, which made the difference. And I remember that, you know, years later when I was trying to figure out how to play Pony Blues, and I used it on Pony Blues. Anyway, I remember saying to Wolf, gee, I can't think up any more runs in the key of E. And Hubert pipes up. Hubert's sitting on the floor, and he pipes up, is you in love? That's one of the funniest things.
Wow.
But it's so true, you know, because whenever I've been in love, it's always interfered with my concentration on the guitar. And sometimes women get jealous of a guitar, you know. Yeah. There's that trip, you know. Yeah. When I first got married, my wife used to complain about the 12 string that I had. Then she said, "Can you please stop playing it? It hurts my ears." Well, we didn't stay married too long.
Cool. Thanks, Paul.
Okay.
Hey,